Welcome back to Cooking with Kayla D. I'm Kayla, and that's my husband Randy. If you haven't done so, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember to hit that notification bell to get all the up to date episodes here on our channel. Today we're going to be making chicken pot pie two ways. To start off, we're doing chicken pot pie with ham and Swiss and spinach. Let's get started. For your ingredients, you're going to need 1/2 of a rotisserie chicken, deboned and take the skin off. You'll also need 1 cup of diced ham, 1/4 cup of bacon, crumbled, 10 ounces of fresh spinach, 1/8 of a cup of green onion tops, cut, 6 to 8 slices of Swiss cheese, or you could grate your cheese, 1/2 can of cream of chicken soup, 1/2 pack of softened cream cheese, 1/3 cup of heavy whipping cream, 1 can of Crescent Rolls, 1/3 cup of water, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Optional ingredients are an egg yolk to brush on top and parsley for sprinkling, or you could also use the everything bagel seasoning. First off, you'll want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees because this recipe goes fast. You'll want to take your cream cheese and put that in a mixing bowl. And then you're wanting to go ahead and put your cream chicken soup. You're going to use a 1/2 can for this recipe. You can do a 10 by 13 inch pan and just double the recipe if you're serving for a bigger crowd. Next, you'll want to go ahead and put your heavy cream in and your water. And once you have those ingredients in, you're going to go ahead and blend it well. You want this to be a smooth consistency. This is one of those dump and go easy recipes, and it is going to taste fabulous. Your family is going to think you slaved in the kitchen for hours, and they're going to think they're actually out at a restaurant eating a gourmet style chicken pot pie. It is probably the best dish I think I've ever made, and my husband said the best chicken pot pie he's ever had in his life. So next you're going to go ahead after you have that blended and start adding in your seasonings, your garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper, all of that good stuff we talked about. You want to get that in there into that mix so you can blend it up well so it's smooth and ready to go. You'll want to push that to the side, get your baking dish out. I'm using a pie pan, just your standard pie pan. I'm going to spray that down with cooking spray. I'm going to take my 1/2 of my rotisserie chicken and get that into the pan and cut up into pieces. When I got my rotisserie chicken home from the store, I had bought a cold one from the day before from the deli. I cut it straight in half, and then I went ahead and deboned it and took the skin off and put it into Ziploc bags and into my refrigerator for these recipes. You generally will save money if you buy your chicken a day later in the cold section, and that is a great benefit for your budget. So you'll go ahead and just cut your chicken up into pieces or do a rough chop on that. And you want to get that into your pie dish or your 10 by 13. If you're using a 10 by 13, double this recipe. The only thing you will not have to double is the crescent rolls. If you just unroll the crescent and place it directly on top, it will fit a 10 by 13 very easily. So you can see the chicken is nice and moist. It's not dried out. It's really good chicken. And I just got just a natural rotisserie chicken. But you can get any flavor you like. If you have chicken, you want to cook it and use that. I would say that like 2 chicken breasts or 4 chicken thighs is enough for a pie dish. So that looks about standard. I went ahead and pressed it down flat because we're doing layers. So you want to make sure that it's flat and everything's covered. Next, you're going to take that mixture that we blended together and you want to pour that right over the top of your chicken pot pie. We are going to be building a layered chicken pot pie type casserole here, and it is so delicious. Then you'll want to move that around and make sure that that is smoothed out. Make sure getting all your spots. Like I said, this is the perfect amount for a pie dish, but if you would like a 10 by 13 to serve more than 4 people, then by all means, go ahead and use the 10 by 13 and double the recipe. This is just a couple of small ham steaks I had, and I chopped them up. You could also use those little ham cubes they sell on the market, whatever you have on hand. So good. Even the little deli meat would work. Just make sure to chop it up. I went ahead and fried 4 strips of bacon and then drained it and chopped those up into little bacon bit pieces. Put my bacon in, and let me tell you, it added so much flavor to this dish. I'm going to go ahead and place my spinach onto my pie and make sure I get it in an even layer on there. You want to also eyeball and make sure you're pulling out any spinach that has any dark spots or has wilted. You do not want that in there. Your spinach has started going bad. You don't want that in there. You can get sick from that. So always make sure to pull out those little bits and pieces. And then go ahead and put your fresh spinach. You can use frozen, but it's not going to taste as good. I'll tell you that right now. It does not taste nearly anywhere compared to what it tastes like with the fresh spinach. And remember, the spinach does cook down, so there won't be a lot in there after it's all cooked down. But it is a delicious dish, and you will get lots of vitamins and minerals from it. Now I went ahead and put the tops of the green onion right on there. I'm going to go ahead and layer on my sliced Swiss cheese. You just want 1 layer of Swiss cheese to cover. I got mine for $2 at my local deli. You just go in there and ask them to slice you like 4 to 6 slices or 8 slices, and it's just a way to save money. You don't have to buy a big old pack of cheese. We do that often even for sandwiches. So you want to go ahead and just tear these to fit. However you see you need it, go ahead and tear it just to make sure that you get as many places covered on here. I think we ended up with 5 or 6 slices of cheese, and we used every single one of them. I believe it was 6 slices in total. Yes, 6. And we used every single bit. So by all means, go to your deli and just ask your local deli guy to just slice you however many slices you need. You could do the same with the ham if you're needing to buy some ham for this recipe. And just go in there and ask him for a thick cut ham, and ask him for 2 or 3 slices for a pie size. And if you're doubling, get like 6 slices. You'll save so much money doing it that way, and you won't have to buy a pickle pack of meat that you might not be using. Now we're doing our crescent rolls. Since I'm using a pie dish, I went ahead and pulled my crescent rolls apart and placed them in towards the center like that. Just make sure none of the dough overlaps, otherwise you'll have to cook your pie longer. But I wanted it to look cute and pretty, so I pulled it apart. Now you can just unroll it and lay it across the top and just cut around the edges how it is, because you want to have little seams in between anyway for your pie to be able to bubble and air out. So I just did mine this way to try to be a little bit fancy and see how it would work out. And it worked out pretty good. Later on, I'll have a little tip for you with our next pie about doing it this way. But if you're doing a 10 by 13, of course, you're not going to want to tear this apart. You're just going to want to unroll it in one big swoop over the top of your pie, because it's big enough to fit a 10 by 13 all the way across. And as you can see, I'm pulling off all of the tips of the dough there, because if I would leave it, it actually would take longer to cook and stay doughy in the middle. It always takes longer for the center to cook when you're baking, so just keep that in mind. Now, if your pie pan is overflowing a little bit, you want to put this on a baking sheet before placing it in the oven. But if not, then you're okay to go. Now, first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and crack an egg, and I'm going to separate the egg yolk from the egg whites and get rid of that egg white. With the egg yolk, you want to go ahead and break that up with a brush, and you'll want to brush that all over your pie. It will give you more of a crunchier, beautiful pie crust, as you saw in the beginning, and you will see here at the end of this video. Now, if you do not want to have that, type of texture on your pie, by all means, you can put butter on it or nothing at all. It is up to you. But I went ahead and used the egg wash and brushed it on, and then sprinkled some parsley right onto the top before baking. And I am just using dry parsley, and it did come out green after it was baked, and it was bright and pretty and beautiful. You want to get this into an oven at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. And then if you're cooking a 10 by 13, I would cook it for 30 minutes at the same temperature. As you can see, like magic, ours is already out of the oven and bubbling, and it smells so good in this kitchen, let me tell you. There you have it. It's a ham and Swiss chicken pot pie with spinach and bacon. It was absolutely delicious. I'm going to go ahead and cut into this so you can see what it looks like. You see how beautiful the crust got there? It's absolutely gorgeous. It just looked so good. We let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes just so it could thicken up and come back together, and that the sauce wouldn't be too runny. But look at that. And if you're one to want a crust on the bottom, by all means, go ahead and do your bottom crust if you'd like. I always say to bake it about 10 minutes before you put your stuff in there, though, so it does cook all the way through. This was so good. Next, we're making a classic American chicken pot pie, and this is going to be a dump and go one. It is not completely from scratch, so just warning you now. Easy chicken pot pie recipes today, folks. And for the ingredients for the easy classic chicken pot pie, you'll need 1/2 of a rotisserie chicken, 1 can of cream of chicken soup, 1/3 cup of heavy whipping cream, 1/3 cup of water, 1 bag of frozen mixed vegetables, 1 teaspoon onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon celery salt, 1 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, 2 teaspoons of dry parsley, 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoons of ground bay leaf, and I'll show you how to do that, 1/2 teaspoon of salt and pepper, 1 tablespoon of chicken bouillon, 2 to 3 sprigs of chopped fresh sage. This is an optional ingredient, and 1 can of Crescent Rolls, and this is for a regular standard pie dish. Optional ingredients is an egg yolk to brush on top, and also some parsley. So I went ahead and already got my ingredients prepped. I have some chicken right there cut up into pieces. I've got my yolk ready, my crescents, all of my spices here, and I even have my bay leaves sitting there. We're going to chop those up. I have everything poured out here. As you can see, the salt, my onion powder, my chicken bouillon, my fresh sage. And for our vegetables, my husband did not want that many in there this time, so we just pulled out the carrots from our mixed veggies, and we have potatoes to add to that. Now, in most cultures, people actually will take their bay leaves and grind them up and put it into the recipes. I think the American culture is the only culture I've never seen do it, honestly. But you just put them into a coffee grinder, spice grinder, or one of those stone grinders, and you will grind up your bay leaves. I always just look for the smallest scragglers and get like to where it would be 1 large bay leaf, and then I go ahead and grind that up. Now, because I am using my little coffee grinder as my spice grinder, it is going to take a minute because it will chop it up, but they will start flying around, so then there will still be big pieces. So I will have to put it back in and then press release, press release, press release until it is chopped all the way up. Now I'll show you what that looks like. As you can see there, it is done. There you go, just like any other spice. It's even smaller than rosemary. And that's how you incorporate bay leaf into your recipes. And you do want to do that with a classic chicken pot pie because it's kind of like a chicken noodle soup. You want to make sure you're getting that bay leaf in there, folks. Now we're going to work on our pie filling. You want 1 can of cream of chicken soup. And even though this is a pie pan recipe, you do want a full can of that cream of chicken soup. We had a lot more ingredients in our other recipe, and that's why we used way less cream of chicken soup. So for this one, you'll want a full can. If you're doing a double recipe, a 10 by 13, you'll want 2 cans. You want to double up everything for a full big recipe except the topping, which is the crescent roll. Once you have that in there, you're going to go ahead and add your heavy whipping cream and your water, which I had already pre-mixed together. And you want to go ahead and blend that together until it is smooth. Once you have that whipped together and you have a smooth consistency, go ahead and just dump your spices directly in to your filling mixture and blend that up. Then set that aside. Go ahead and work on this pie. I did go ahead and spray my pie dish. On my potatoes, I went ahead and added those in, and I pre-cooked those in the microwave after I chopped them up into pieces for about 4 to 5 minutes. We did notice they weren't completely cooked, so you might want to boil those or cook them a little longer in the microwave if you're adding potatoes to your recipe. Those are optional, and it's just something my husband was craving, so we went ahead and added it in there. Normally we do the classic chicken pot pie with the green beans and all that good stuff in there. But for now, this is what we did, and we did use just the frozen carrots from a mixed vegetable bag. Now after you have your vegetables well incorporated, you want to put your chicken in there. Make sure that it is consistently throughout the entire dish. That way you're getting lots of chicken in every bite. Then you're going to want to go ahead and then just pour that filling with your spices right over the top. And I will stop and say here real quick that we added sage leaves just to try it out this time. We don't normally put them in there. We just had some left over from another recipe we had made, and it was not good. For us. I mean, you can go ahead and try it if you would like, but if you have not done that before and you just love chicken pot pie, your classic version, do not add the sage leaves in there. It was very strong and it gave the pie a really funny flavor. So just a side note on that. I'm going ahead and got my crescent rolls open. You're going to go ahead and just lay that over your pie just like you did the last one. And you want to just cover it up just like you did before, or just unroll the dough completely and just lay it over the top and cut the edges off. I did want to note that I took the extra dough and made little mini croissants and put on top of the pie. I cooked my pie an additional 10 minutes and the dough still was not cooked in the middle. We just ended up cutting it off and throwing it out. So just keep in mind, doing what I'm doing here, adding something pretty and fancy just isn't worth it. Just throw that extra dough away or put it in the fridge for a mini pot pie or like a breakfast pop-up for another day, because it is not worth the trouble, folks. Now you want to go ahead and take the egg yolk and just make sure to cover the pie completely with your egg yolk. And once you have that completely covered, voila, you'll put it in the oven, 350 degrees for 20 minutes for a pie dish and 30 minutes for a 10 by 13. And reminder, do not add the extra dough to that. It's not worth it. And as you can see, I got it out of the oven. It bubbled up a little bit. I went ahead and wiped that off of the edge just in case. Did not want it like getting on me or anything. I did cook this for an additional 10 minutes and it was still doughy in the middle, so finally I ended up removing those little croissants off the top and just throwing that center dough away. As you can see how light yellow it is not cooked, so be very careful when you're having too much dough on top of your pie. And as you can see here, after 10 more minutes, it did cook a little bit further, but there's still too much light yellow dough there. I hadn't realized it yet and I cut into it. So we just dealt with what we had. It's learning curves as you're learning to cook all over again. But there you have it, a classic chicken pot pie. And of course I'm going to go ahead and cut into it so you can see how it looked on the inside. It was actually pretty good. And like I said, the sage, we didn't really care for it. And the potatoes were a little slightly undercooked. Some of them were cooked, some weren't. And the dough was a little raw there in the very center. I'm learning, folks. I'm learning, just like you are. But it was really good. wasn't bad at all. Just a couple minor little hiccups. So definitely don't put those little dough things on the top. Ugh, no. No, 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 no. But it ended up being pretty good. But that first pie, wow, that blew our mind. We will definitely be making that first pie again. That was delicious with the ham Swiss, the spinach, and the bacon. Oh my Lord, have mercy. And there you have it, an American classic chicken pot pie. Yummy in your tummy. Thank you for being here on Cooking with Kayla D. We appreciate your love and support and you being a part of our community and family here. Please come back again and remember to like, share, and hit that notification bell so you get all the up-to-date episodes. And stay tuned. We have some chili rellenos and green chili rice coming up this next Monday.
And he brought them out and said, Sirs, what must I do to be saved? So they said, Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and you will be saved, you and your household. Acts 16:30 and 31.
And as always, we have some beautiful photos here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for you. Here is one of the sunrise, and then we have here one of the moon rising over the ocean. It is absolutely beautiful, and we feel so honored here to be able to share God's glory with all of you. Thank you for being here on Cooking with Kayla D. We love you, and we hope you come back again. Please like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell for more up-to-date episodes. Also, you can click the icon here to the left, and you can subscribe to our channel, or click to the right and hear more delicious recipes. Remember, stay in that kitchen and keep on cooking. God bless. Until next time.